welcome to the show. I am David Swift, your host of All Things Real Estate. I'm a licensed Georgia realtor and a licensed Alabama realtor. On this show, we discuss topics related to the real estate industry. Today, we are going to talk about home inspections, and I have a great guest joining us today who is going to help us better understand home inspections and what his company provides. Let me get him on here. His name is Desmond Thornton with Thornton Home Inspections. So let me get him on. Desmond, are you there? Hey, Desmond, are you there?
Yes, sir. How are you?
Hey, how are you, sir?
Pretty good.
I'm glad that you took time out of your day to be with us and talk about home inspections. This is a big topic for us in the industry. But before we get into home inspections, we got to know who you are, man. I do this at the beginning of each show. We got to know who we're talking to. So who is Desmond Thornton?
Wow, that's a deep question. I don't know if we have a lot of time for that, but to shorten it up, I'm a home inspector by trade. I've been doing home inspection for a little bit over 10 years. Before that, I actually taught martial arts for my dad here in Ringo, Georgia. Wow. He has a martial arts studio. He's had his studio, for 40 years now. And I came out of that, and, kind of how I got into home inspection was I had a home inspection done for myself on my house. And, over the couple of years, just looking at it, I thought it was very interesting. And then started to look more into it. And then I started into it and found out that the gentleman that did my inspection was not too thorough. So that was one of the reasons why I got into it, because I didn't want people to go through the situation that I went through as a client of a home inspector. So we try to make sure that all of our inspectors are trained to where, excuse me, to where they believe that whoever's buying that house is a family member, and they would inspect those homes like their grandmother or whoever they care about the most in their family is going to be living there. So that's why we're really detailed when we do inspections.
Right. So kind of get back on Desmond. So you said you did martial arts training for a little while. What else do you do for fun? I mean, what does Desmond and his family do for fun?
Oh man, I spend time with my family. Like, I hang out with my sons. I got a son in college. He's at Howard University. I got a daughter in high school, is getting ready to go to Tennessee. And my youngest, he's 9, and he's getting ready to make his black belt in martial arts.
Awesome.
So we're a busy family. Yeah.
All
right. But myself, I've been overseas fighting. That was really my life, was martial arts. I grew up from age 4 to, current. I was in there last night working out. So, it's
don't mess with this home inspector.
But yeah, we're a very active family. Wow. And we love the Lord, and we try to do our best every day.
Awesome. So I see you touched a little while ago on your motto. You're starting to get into Thornton. So yeah, I do want you to elaborate a little bit more on Thornton Home Inspections. And you quoted it. I was going to ask you your motto. So tell us again what Thornton Home Inspections motto is.
So we inspect homes like our grandmother's going to be living there. So what that means is, like, when I first started this company, I was sitting with my grandmother. She has, passed since then. And she asked me a question. She's like, how are you going to do this inspection for these people? Like, I was like, if you were going to be living there, that's how I want to do it. She's like, you stick to that, because that'll always serve you right, because you're going to treat people the way they want to be treated when you do your inspections and do anything else in your life. So that's our motto, is to stick to that. And, we've done well for the last 10 years, and people appreciate that.
Absolutely. As long as you love your grandmother, people can relate to it, right? Which most people do.
Yeah, exactly.
So here, let's go here. So, and you kind of touched on it a little while ago, but let's dig into this just a little bit more. So how did Thornton Home Inspections actually come to be? You told me you had a home inspection done, and it kind of triggered your like, hey, I think I want to get into this. So let's elaborate a little bit more. How did, without getting too lengthy, how did you actually become Thornton Home Inspections?
So it was funny because like what I used to do medical sales back in the early 2000s, and I thought that was going to be my only position. I worked with a gentleman that before Barack Obama became president, we were all working there, and then after things changed in the industry, so we all had to pivot. And one of the co-workers went into real estate, and at the time I had no dealing with real estate whatsoever. And we were talking, and he had mentioned that he couldn't get his inspections back fast enough from his inspector. And I was like, I remember what my inspector did. It's like, I can do that. That's like 10-15 minutes, because he didn't really stay at my house long. So I said that, and he's like, no, I think you got to go to school for that. So while we were on the phone, I signed up for school. And this was probably October of the previous year. And then come January, I found out I'm having a son. And at the time, I was just kind of dabbling into home inspection. I really wasn't doing anything. And my position that I had was more of I was already at the top of my position. I couldn't go any higher. So I thought home inspection may be something I could do. And then when I found out he was coming, I hit it hard. I think I was on chapter 4 of a book that had like 15 chapters. So I think it was like late January. By early February, I want to say Super Bowl, in that range. And literally, I actually finished school by that time. It was maybe a 2-week, maybe 3-week period. I finished completely school, got my license, got everything done, and started my company on February 3rd of 2013.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you just so when you first started it, what and I don't want you to tell, elaborate where you are now, but when you first started, what areas did you cover when you first?
It was just Ringgold. It was literally just Ringgold area. We only had one service, and that was just a buyer's inspection. Because honestly, I didn't, know how to run a business at the time. I was really coming out. I watched my father run his business for 30 plus years, but I didn't know how to do it myself. And the other thing of that was I wanted to have a company that was separate from his, because he has a really good reputation in this area, and a lot of people love and adore my father. Of course, I do too, but it was different for me because like I grew up in that shadow, and that was in martial arts, that was in the community. I always had that shadow, and so I wanted to do something for myself, and I wanted to make something for my kids, to where they see me do something and grow as a person and try to become a better person for them, because that role model in a household for children is very important, because a child can go off the rails quickly. Absolutely. And for me, martial arts kept me straight, and I put all my kids in martial arts for that reason alone, is to have that structure and that stability and that self-confidence going forward as a young adult, or just a kid in general. So it kind of went that way for me. But, getting back to the home inspection side of this, it was really to grow something from nothing and to share my love with others.
Awesome. I mean, and if every business kind of had that foundation, that would be, a true blessing, because some people just get into it for the money, but obviously you have, monies, and like you say, I'm a man of the faith as well. You have good, strong principles that you had when you first started your company. So, when you're setting forth to help other people first, then the blessing of growth and all that comes after it. So, and I see that with you. So, and you kind of touched on this a little bit too. So I like to ask this from everybody. I even ask this with other realtors that I talk with, but what is your why? And like I said, you kind of touched on it a little bit. Why do you do what you do? Like I said, you kind of touched on it, but let's go a little deeper.
Yeah. My why is a big why. It really is. It's my family. It's, making sure people don't get, taken advantage of in certain situations. And I think home inspections is a vital part of the real estate transaction. And I know that sometimes they can be, detrimental to a sale, but it's really important to have that aspect and an honest person doing that aspect that wants to help you versus wants to take your money. But my why is really to make my grandmother proud, period. Bottom line, however that happens is I want to make sure she knows that whatever I do is for her and for, the family to keep that name in a bright light. Yeah.
And you do that by helping others,
Right.
and that's great. By the fact that you help other people, that's making your grandma proud and making your family proud. And obviously you're building a good reputation, not just with your family, but with the communities that you do your work in. So that's great.
Yeah, and for me, like the only way I know that we're doing a good job is when people leave reviews for our company. And we have I think over 700 reviews on the internet of just, raving reviews and paragraph reviews, which is, to me, if you take that kind of time, that tells me a lot that we did a good job for you and your family, and you really appreciated that.
Right. And those are just the ones that got on the internet to actually do that.
Right.
Some people, I'm one of them, I should get on there and give a review because they deserve it, but a lot of people don't. They're still happy with what you gave them, but they didn't give you a review, and you got over 600. That's awesome.
Right.
So let's start getting into it. Why is a home inspection so important?
Well, let's start here. Does anybody know what a home inspection really is? That's the thing, because some people think you can see through walls.
Right. Yeah. So help us and those watching. What is it?
A home inspection is a visual synopsis of like a snapshot of that home that day. So if there's something, like a rotten seal plate in your wall, water entry into the house, it has to be happening that day for the inspector to say, yes, you have this issue. But also, a home inspection is more of an investigative situation. And I think that's my favorite part of it. Is
like
the
a crime
detective
scene
work.
investigator.
Yes. And, I like to figure out how water does get into certain places. And sometimes, it's the weirdest thing how it does get there. You just got to kind of backtrack, find it, and then work your way back to the source of the issue. And that's really my favorite part. And a lot of our inspectors that we do hire, that's their favorite part. They don't like to see something and not know why it happened. Exactly. And in home inspections, a home inspector doesn't have to do that. They don't have to tell you how it happened. They just got to tell you that it is there and it needs to be looked at by a qualified professional. So we go a little bit above that and try to give you a little bit more information of like, hey, you have negative grade where water's running towards your home. If you put maybe a swell or a French drain against the house, it could deter that water from entering the home. So it kind of gives them, hey, yes, you have a problem, but here's also a solution to that problem.
Right. Okay. So that's what a home inspection is. That was a little short summary. Right. So let's go. So why is it important to get one?
So it's important because the education. So you're buying a property, say you go into the property and it looks gorgeous. I mean, immaculate. And you want to put an offer on this property. Yes, that's great. And that's what you should do. But there's also things that you could not be seeing, like the attic, the crawl space or basement, and the electrical. You're not looking at that if you're trying to buy a property to live in. So a home inspection gives you those aspects that you cannot see or are not aware of. And there's standards of practice that we have to follow. And those practices cover all of those situations. And there's limitations to home inspections, but there are things that like electrical, plumbing, HVAC, things of that nature that we must look at and tell you information on. So it's very important before you buy a property or sell a property for that matter, because if you're a seller and you want to get rid of your property or move to another property and you have this property, it's always good to have somebody come look through it and tell you what could be an issue that could come up on a home inspection from the buyer side. So if you can get that aspect completed, you can actually nullify any negotiations or any contingencies that would hold up the process, or let alone, stop the process from moving forward.
Yeah, it's not an insurance policy, but it's similar, like to know like this is what you're getting into. Like when you
Right.
buy a used car, you really, I mean, yeah, you might be able to take it to a friend down the road that's a mechanic and he say, oh, it's got a few things here and there wrong with it, or it's good to go. But with a home, it's a lot different. And by bringing, Thornton Home Inspections in to look at the property, the buyer is able to go, because we know there's no such thing as a perfect house.
No,
Even if it's brand new,
no.
there's always something, an issue of some sort. So with that being known, bringing in a home inspector, you're able to weigh out, okay, yeah, this is wrong, but it's minimal to fix this, or oh, whoa, this is a big problem.
Yeah, and the home inspectors most of the time or do not know who the client is. Don't know the client's background or anything, if they're a tradesman or if they're just a single mom with a child or something like that. You don't know their situation. So you really have to give a blanket statement and an unbiased opinion on the property at the time. And it's your professional opinion of what can be resolved, but the facts are the facts. So if you have water, you have water. I mean, there's no getting around that. And that's why you take pictures and video. In our reports, we usually have the inspection back the same day. Most of the time, as soon as we lock the door, your report's in your email. So that's really the cool thing about our company. We try to be as streamlined, as efficient as possible as a company to make sure that you get your information as quickly as possible so you can make that educated decision going forward. But like you said, home inspections are very important. It don't matter if you're an investor, if it's a brand new property, if it's an old property, any property, commercial for that matter. We do also handle commercial inspections also. But any property that you're looking to purchase, a home inspection or a building inspection, property inspection is vital to your transaction.
Absolutely. Yeah, I strongly encourage all buyers to get a home inspection. I mean, it's just good sense.
Well, what was it, last year or year before last, whenever COVID kind of hit and people were having, yes, that right. I can tell you right now, I've had about
$50,000 more.
Yes, paying $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 over and waiving their inspection, their contingencies, all that stuff. I've had probably about, I want to say on my top of my head, I want to say 30, 35 people reach out to our company to come back in and do an inspection on a property that they bought, sight unseen, no inspections, and they have at least that $50,000 to $60,000 worth of damage to their property that they overpaid for their property. So they're out. Exactly. So I mean, it's understandable that you need to be in a property, but be smart about it. Be very smart about it, because it can put you back years.
If you I think everybody and during that time, the 2-3% interest, that's all they saw. So they, I'm gonna buy a house because of interest rates, and so they were, I don't need an inspection. I don't need this or what, and some of them, like you said, they're paying for it now because they're hindsight. They're looking back and going, oh, let's get an inspector in here and look at it. So,
I hate to go into those situations, but it's all you can do is just like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, here's the situation. You wanted the facts. Here's the facts. So, So you mentioned commercial, and I'm fixing to get you into. You are a full service inspection company. So I've got a list of 5, and if you have more, you can let me know. But I've got preventive maintenance inspections, commercial inspections, pre-listing inspections or seller inspections, and a standard inspection and walkthrough. So if you can start at the first one and kind of explain to us and the viewers what each of these are.
Okay, so the first one was preventative maintenance. Okay. So the preventive maintenance is basically an inspection to tell you what you need to keep up with. Like, say, for instance, it could be as small as your air filter in your home that you may have moved from an apartment, and the maintenance person did that part. and you don't even know you need to do that. So we educate you on that and let you know to change your batteries in your smoke detector, to change your filters in your vents under your stove, to make it safe for your children, like an anti-tip bracket on your stove, that so if the child's like hanging on the door of the stove, it doesn't tip over on top of them. Cleaning out your chimney once a year, blowing out your lint and your dryer vent. I mean, these just simple things that people are not really educated on when they first buy a home. That's what preventive maintenance program is for, to just give you that information. So the next year you'll know what to do, and you just keep the house in good shape, because for us, our goal is to bring our community up. So if you have a rundown house and we inspected it and you're not taking care of it, it's going to devalue the next door neighbor's property. So we want you to be more aware and more proactive in cleaning and keeping the maintenance on your property, because say 5 years from now, you need to move and you have a house that hasn't been taken care of in 5 years. Then say an inspector comes in and they call out these things, it's going to cost you money. But if you can do this and keep this up every year, it brings your property value up just because of you taking care of your property. Just like your car, you get your oil changed.
Yep.
Same thing. You want to do that to your house and keep that up. And we give you that list and give you that report and say, hey, these are things you want to keep up with. Like, for one, I can tell you, like a lot of people love those tankless water heaters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And tankless water heaters, you want to have those maintenance every year. Most people don't even do that to their regular water heater.
No.
So, what it does is it builds up scaling on it, and it makes your tank inefficient, and then it'll break, and that'll cost you $2,500 or more. But if you have somebody coming out and servicing it every year, it makes it, last a lot longer. Plus, say 5 years down the road and you need to sell it, you have a tankless water heater that's valued more than $2,500 because you kept up with it. So it just brings you more value to your property by doing the preventative maintenance part.
Right. Now, so, because you said that, so one, what would you recommend a time frame, like the first of the year, the end of the year? What would be a good for a homeowner to schedule? Like, every year I'm going to do it at this time. What would be?
Probably the easiest answer is when it changes from hot to cold and cold to hot. That's probably the springtime and fall time, is to have a preventive maintenance, because I kind of gauge that off of heat and air. In heat and air, you want to have your unit serviced twice a year, and that's when you want to have it serviced, was when it changes from hot to cold, because you're changing the actual gases, what direction your gases run. And if you do that and keep it up, your unit will last longer. If you don't, it'll break down a lot faster.
Right. So, and you made a good point. So I'm hoping that you do, and I'm sure you do, because that's how you roll. But the preventive maintenance, the inspector, you will actually provide the homeowner a report of this each time it's done. Because what I see in that as a realtor is, okay, I've got a client who's been using this service for 5 years. They have a record of what's been taken care of, and there's value in that. When we go to sell the property, we've been having it just like you said, a car. Oh yeah, we've had it serviced every year. This has been fixed. This has been fixed. Instead of trying to remember, oh yeah, my uncle come and replaced the hot water heater a couple years ago, or we've got a licensed professional that came in and took care of these, and it's recorded.
Yep, and there's probably some of these situations you can have a warranty on some of this stuff.
Right.
So it's always good to use a professional. I mean, Uncle's great, but if he's not a professional, I don't know if it's going to really hold up for you.
Right. So, okay. So that's an awesome service or inspection that you provide. Now let's talk about commercial inspections. So what all do you do, and what's all inclusive to that?
Commercial inspection is a lot different from a home inspection. Commercial inspection is not as invasive as I guess intense, I guess is a great word for it, as a residential home inspection, because residential, you got to look at certain things. On a commercial, you do have, certain items you got to look at, but it's more of, hey, how much is this going to cost me to get it repaired to where I can utilize it the way I want to as an investor. So I did an inspection in Menlo, Georgia, and it was the best building. It was a huge building.
What you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah. So we did that inspection, and basically all the guy wanted to know was the roof good. Like we did the walls, we did the electrical, we did the plumbing, we did all that. But all he wanted to know is like, how much was cost to replace the roof, which the roof was needing to be replaced. But that's what he was wanting to know. And we have a program from a third party that we can send our residential and our commercial inspection reports to, and they can give an estimate for cost of repairs. And that's what he was really looking for. So commercial, yes, it is intense, but is nowhere near what residential would be. So, but yeah, commercial is a good thing. A lot of people buy those just because of the I guess property value, and then they want to see like, hey, how much is this? How much is this going to cost? What is this going to be? It's specific things that they're looking for versus I want to know what's going on.
They're using them for a negotiating tool for the pricing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, I would, in that situation, well, depending on the client, would actually try to utilize your service beforehand and go, okay, so $50,000 replacement here. So let's go ahead and adjust the price and disclose that, and say, this is why we're selling, at this price.
Yep.
Because we're already factoring in the replacement. So for the buyer or listing side, I could see that being a great benefit.
Yep.
So, and this is what I really love, is your pre-listing inspections, and how you utilize that. I want you to tell me all that and how it's a great blessing for buyers agents as well.
Yeah, I've been trying to push this inspection program for probably 7-8 years now, because I was in Atlanta doing training, and a lot of the inspectors are saying they do a lot of business on pre-listing side because it speeds up the transaction for all parties involved. They know what's going on. They see it before they do an initial inspection from the buyer side. The actual benefit would be for the seller, because the seller doesn't have to really negotiate anything. It's already disclosed. You're not hiding anything per se, because some sellers they don't want to know. Like they don't want to, like, whatever it is, I don't want to know. Let the buyers buy their inspection and they can deal with it. But the problem is with that is you have a 50-50 chance of buying or not buying the property when you approach it from that mindset. So with a pre-listing inspection, you can actually increase that to about 80 to 90% that you would actually sell the property. And to me, that's the biggest benefit, because it gives you a chance to, one, repair anything that the inspection actually brings up, and you're not on the timeline to actually get it done. And I think that's another aspect that you bring up, because on a normal inspection process, you have how many days is due diligence right now? What's the average?
Well, right now I'm doing like 5 or 7.
Yeah. So as a seller, you got 5 to 7 days to fix, say, a foundation wall. I mean, you probably can't even find a foundation specialist to even do that just to get to the house in that amount of days. So as a seller, if you do the pre-listing, it gives you time to actually do that, repair that, and then maybe put it on the market at that time, because that may be the biggest cost for, putting it on the market. But when you do that, you actually can route that cost of repairs inside the price of the inspection, or the price of the property to be sold. So you're actually making your money back by even doing the repair. That's really one of the big things for me.
Now what I love, tell us about the barcode.
Oh yeah, okay. So that's a different program. That's called the good faith inspection, and we're retooling that right now. But what that is we go in and do a free inspection for the seller. Now, the seller and the real estate agent does not have access to that report unless they actually go outside to the front of their property and purchase it like a buyer would. Right. Because we don't want to put them in a situation where they have to disclose something that they don't know about. Now, if they want to actually look at it and then disclose it from that point because they purchased it, that's out of our hands. We're not making that decision for you. You made that decision for yourself. But that QR code sits out front, and then a potential buyer can come by and they actually can purchase the inspection report from that barcode or that QR code at the time that they're sitting there, and then say, all right, so this house needs this, or this house is great. They don't have a lot of issues with this house. So we can put an offer in sitting right there without walking in the house. And for me, I thought that was a really good tool for them, especially whenever people were having to waive these inspections. And honestly, I think that's really what we should do, is be able to give the buyers a chance to say, yes, I want this house. But on the flip side of that, as a real estate agent, I think the benefit is you're not having 37 offers.
Right.
You're having
the buyer, like you said, right there in the driveway, they can go, here's everything that is wrong with this property, or like they already know, because a lot of people, they just fall in love with the house, but they can fall in love with it, but then already know about it, and it just expedites the whole process. It could shorten the due diligence period, and like you said, lessen the amount of offers, because somebody's already making an informed offer. Like, they already know what's wrong with the property, and I hate using that word wrong, but they already know of any issues that may be with the property, so they're informed, and then they make that offer. So I love that.
Yeah, because how we built this program was based on feedback from realtors, like those issues that they were running into. As I had one agent said they had 52 offers on a house, and people were just putting in offers. They didn't really want the property. They were just holding up the process for somebody actually to get the property. And, with this program, it went from, I think it was not her particular house. There was one that was getting, I think he said 15 to 16 offers a day on this property.
And we have to submit those to, we have to present those to the seller.
Exactly. So it went from that to down to like 3 or 4, because when they actually went to the property and looked at the inspection report, then it made them make that decision. All right, they put it on there. Hey, we've seen this report. We want to put an offer in, and it's at that time, because you've already seen everything and you know what to do. Or, hey, I want to do this, and I want to put this offer in, and I know that this is going on with this property. It just makes it so much easier for you as a real estate agent to not have to fiddle through all that extra stuff.
Yeah, and that's such a great thing that Thornton Home Inspections provides, that more people need to, or more realtors, more sellers, more buyers need to take advantage of.
And I think that's the biggest thing for me, is I want to be more of an innovative company. I want to be able to problem solve for everybody involved. Because I know as a real estate agent, there's a lot of headache and a lot of work that sometimes you don't even get paid for because of situations that come about. But if I can be that kind of company that can relieve some of those headaches for agents, and a lot of headaches for clients, and most importantly for the seller, because they're emotionally attached to this situation too. And a lot of people don't really think of the seller when it comes to home inspection. It's more the buyer. I'm really more focused on the seller. How can we give them a benefit or some type of program that would help them, make this process a lot smoother?
Yep, because obviously they want to sell. So, and the quicker they sell, the better for them. So using this program helps them sell it faster. It cuts out a lot of the stuff, if you will, that will hold it up. So yeah, I love it. So let's talk.
Can't do anything about the appraisal though.
No, you can't. And I've learned with appraisers, it's they change day by day. They're having a bad day, you might not get a good appraisal.
Yeah.
So So let's talk about your standard buyer's inspection. So what do you look for? What all do you do? Without getting into your services, we're going to get into that in a minute. But just
yeah. So a buyer's inspection is basically we look at the structure of the home. We look from the top to the bottom. So the roof, the attic, the interior, the exterior of the property, the mechanicals such as like HVAC, electrical, plumbing, water heaters, stuff like that. And then we look into the crawl space or basement if you have those. If it's a slab and it's covered by, furniture or things of that nature, we can't visually see it. We have to, let you know that it's there, that we don't see anything or any issue going on. But like I said before, it's a visual inspection. So if it's hitting, then the inspector is not, able to physically see that, then they can't tell you that it's there or not. And then we have other services. We'll speak about that here shortly. But the home inspection, the standard home inspection, is really just a synopsis of what the house looks like. And we try to get as detailed as possible in any crevice that we could probably get to that's accessible.
That's accessible.
Yeah.
Okay. And lastly on this list, your walkthrough inspections. Let's hit on that.
The walkthrough is strictly for what happened in 2020 and 2021. Those were kind of just like people waiving home inspections. Like, how can we help these people? And the walkthrough consultations were strictly about, hey, we'll walk through the property with you at a showing, and we'll walk through. I think depending on how much time they had at that time, some of them had 15 minutes to walk through the whole house.
Yeah, you can't inspect the house.
Exactly. So like what we did was we hit the major components like the HVAC. If we could look at the roof or the attic, the crawl space, we looked at those aspects that could be potential issues, because the interior of the house, yes, you could have issues with the interior, but everybody sees the interior. If you're buying a house as a buyer, you're walking in the interior. So it's not really a big deal for us to look at that. We're looking at stuff that you wouldn't see. Like if there's a water leak from a weather boot on the ceiling where your plumbing comes through, yes, we want to make sure that that's cleared up and not have any issues. Do you have hot attics? That's, to me, one of the number one, probably top two things that I look for in an inspection. If you get into an attic and it's a sauna up there, there's a major problem going on. And then, if there's your negative grade coming to the house, is there standing water in your basement? Like, what is the cause of that? And then we educate them on that. And, with a consultation, as a home inspector, we can't tell you to buy or sell this house or not buy, whatever. We have to be unbiased in that situation. So on the consultation, it's a little different. Like, hey, this might not be the one, because we're not writing a report. We're just giving you our expert opinion on this property. This property is great. This is the one you want to buy, because somehow get your agent on the phone, get this house, because this house is really great for you. Or the other, this is not the house for you, and we
walk away.
Give you that information. Yeah, because $70,000 over asking, you might want to think about that. But yeah, that's what the walkthrough consultation is strictly for. And we haven't done a walkthrough consultation since the interest rates went up back in March, I guess, of last year.
Right. So that's kind of fading away. But if somebody was to ask for that service, you would be.
Yeah, we have it. Yep, we have it.
Awesome. So now I want to get into some good stuff, which those are all great things. But let's talk about some other services that Thornton provides, and let's get into them. So I want to talk about termites. Let's talk about termites.
So the termite inspections, we have a third party that comes in and does that with us. We use Lookout Pest Control and EnviroGuard Pest Solutions. They come in and look at those things for us, but we actually go behind them and look at those things also as inspectors, because we can point out wood destroying insects, but we can't say the word termite as an inspector if you're not licensed to do that. So we decided, I didn't want to do all that extra training, and I know how to do it. I just don't feel like paying them people that money. So I hire another company to do that for us, and they've been great. We've been with them for 6 years now. They've been, wonderful. We can get our reports back within 24 hours. I mean, it's really streamlined with our company, because we like to get stuff same day, and we're steady pushing them. Like, we need the same day. We need the same day, because we want to be that company that you can count on. Like, we had a real estate agent call us from Atlanta and said they have a 2-day due diligence period. 2 days.
Wow.
And they said, can you do this inspection? I was like, is it vacant? They're like, yeah. I was like, we can do it. We can get your stuff back and you wouldn't have any problem. Literally, this agent, we got everything done, got the inspection back. She, praised us all up and down on, a review, and that's how I knew that she loved it, because I read that review and it was really, really good, to where she appreciate what we did for her and her clients, and really all parties involved, because if this didn't happen, there's no transaction,
Right.
So I can't say we saved the deal, but we ensured there was a possibility of a deal.
Right. Well, a home inspector is a very vital tool, resource realtors need. So absolutely. So let's talk about radon. What does Thornton do for radon?
So we do actually,
not to interrupt you, but that's becoming
go
more and more. That's a word that's becoming more and more, like, us in the industry, we know of it, but the public they're starting to talk about that a lot more.
And I can give you the reason why they start talking about it more and more. If you notice, back when COVID hit, a lot of people from out west were moving east and south. New York, everybody's moving this direction, because the prices of properties were a lot cheaper than where they lived at that time. So they had knowledge of radon. And so when I first heard about radon, which I personally didn't know much about it, I've heard it in my training, but ain't heard anything. So I had a couple of clients call and ask, did we do radon testing at the time? And I was like, no, sorry. So we lost a few deals because we didn't actually offer that service. So I went and looked it up, trained, and got my certificate and got all my other inspector certificates. And now we actually conduct radon testing. And radon is a colorless, odorless, tasteless gas that emanates from the earth. And we're sitting in it right now. Me and you and anybody else who's watching this video, you're sitting in it right now. It really depends on what levels are in your home. That's really the key to it, because I mean, you don't know. You could be living in it for 50 years and never know, and then develop, lung cancer and never smoked a day in your life. So radon can develop into lung cancer. So it's always good to test your house at least once a year. And most of the time they recommend doing it in the fall. I don't know why the fall, but the fall is really when they say you need to do your radon testing, just to make sure that the levels are a safe level. Here lately in Tennessee, the areas that we've ran into a lot of radon was like Hamilton County, which is a hit or miss section. It's like a level 2. If you look at the EPA map, you'll see Georgia, Tennessee, all the states in the country. And you can see the red is like zone 1. Zone 2 is like yellow. Zone 3 is like maybe like zone 2 is an orange. Zone 3 is a yellow. And you can actually look at those and see what counties you stay in and see if your area is a high area or a low area, just based on that EPA map. The one thing that I would recommend, regardless if you're in a low area or a mid area, is I kind of do an analogy of this. You living in your house, it may be low, but your next door neighbor may be high. So it could be that close. And if you do new construction, if you move the earth in any way, there's caverns in the earth that could be letting out radon, or when you move it, you'd be closing off a cavern to where radon can't admit, if that makes sense.
It does.
So it's always good to just know, even if you really not really familiar about it, it's just to check. Check it, don't hurt anybody, just to know that and to have that information. And thank God it's low, and if it's high, you can actually mitigate it to where it can keep it at a certain level, and you still can purchase this property. And from what I remember, the last time I got a quote on a radon mitigation machine was like $2,000 or so. And it
That's
depends
really
on
minimal.
yeah, and you can, I mean, there's ways to mitigate this really simply. It looks like if you've seen plumbing systems where you got that white pipe sticking out of your roof, it's very similar to that when it comes to radon mitigation systems. So it's something that you most definitely want to consider.
So real quick, what is the safe, if that's such a thing, the safe level of radon exposure?
Well, there's not a safe level. I'm gonna tell you straight up, there's not a safe level because anything that gets into your lungs that has radon with it is dangerous to your health, regardless. But the EPA says, and we're going to go off EPA because that's the standard, is 2.0. Okay. Now, if it's over 4.0, then mitigation is recommended. The highest I've actually personally saw was 105.
What?
Which was extreme. Now, the most recent one was this year, and it was 44.7.
That's still crazy.
Exactly. And I mean, it's really important to know. And this is a house that was very nice, basement, and that's another thing. Let's talk about that part of it. So most people, when they talk about radon, they think it comes from a basement. No, it comes from crawl spaces, slabs, basement, anything you have. If it's inside of a house, you have a possibility that radon could be inside of it. You have to mitigate this naturally. You got to open your windows, open your doors, and let that get out.
Because, like Grandma says, open up the window.
Exactly. And most people nowadays do not open their windows ever.
Nope.
so
I was saying, new construction, they actually like seal those houses in like moisture, just tight. It can't breathe.
Yep. That's why they have blower tests now. So, it's very important to just be educated on what you're buying. That's kind of the bottom line of everything I do is be educated. Don't get in a situation where you can't, maneuver your way out of it.
Right. So we were talking about opening a window. So that's a good lead into the next ones. Indoor air quality. Let's talk about that.
So indoor air quality is what you're breathing. Basically, we want to know what you're breathing and if it's harmful or toxic to your body. So when I first got into this part of services, is I had a client that their kid had asthma, and dust and particles in the air was an issue for them, and so they couldn't buy a house that had that kind of issue. So we studied up on it, got licensed and to do those services. So now we do those services as a package. So you can get radon, termite, mold, and other services as a bundle from our company to be able to give you a lot of this information. So you don't have to, kind of pick and choose. You can if you want, but we do have those bundles available. But indoor air quality is basically, have you ever heard of black mold?
Yes.
Okay. Most people think black mold is actually black. No. Black mold is every color. I've seen it brown. I've seen it orange. I've seen it white. I've seen it black. I've seen it green. It's really a word called stachybotrys. That is what people associate with black mold. And that's really, really rare for us to find that. But when it is present, it's been there for a while. And you have different fungi that can actually rot wood out, which you've heard of dry rot, things of that nature. And then the one that we run across most of the time, especially here in the South, is Penicillium aspergillus. And that is because of water coming into your house. And most of the time, that's what it is. It's probably 80 to 100% of that most of the time is that type of fungi. And that fungi is a wood rotting material. It can eat your wood and cause your house to collapse, which you see these abandoned houses that have these dips in it.
Yep.
That's probably from that ate up that wood, and now it's starting to cave in. So penicillin aspergillus, and that goes for indoor air quality and visible fungi, because that's really how you dictate what kind of fungi, what kind of test you need to do. Is we have 3 levels, okay? And I'll go through this because I don't know if this is going to be one of your next questions.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was just going to talk about mold test and the level, so go right on into it.
Okay, so level 1 is something that we can physically see. Okay, it may be black, it may be just brown. We want to know what that is. So we can actually take a tape sample or a swab sample, like a Q-tip type sample, put it in a container, send it off to the laboratory. The laboratory tells us what it is, and they give us a report on it. And we give them that information and let them talk to the laboratory if they have any questions. But we kind of educate them on, hey, this is an issue. It's because of water entry into the property, or you had a plumbing leak right here, and this needs to be fixed. And then level 2 is the indoor air quality. This is something that we cannot see. We can't see it at all, but it could be coming from your HVAC system. And most of the time in the summertime, if you don't service your unit, you have this little white pipe that comes out of your unit. It's called a condensate line, and it lets water out of the house. And if you don't clean that, it'll back up into your unit, and that water will be sitting inside your unit and blowing back through your duct line into the home and causing somebody to be sick if they're allergic to fungi.
And so they never even know that's what's causing it, and it's an HVAC system.
Yeah, and like I said, it comes from a source, and you got to work your way back to the actual situation. So that's kind of how we do our inspections and trying to figure stuff out like that. So that's level 1 is something that is visible. Level 2 is something that's not visible, but level 3 is both, because some situations where you could have both going on at the same time, and you select one, but you also need level 2. So we created a package where you can do both, and that gives you the best bang for your buck. Really, we give you a discount for doing level 3. Is a better discount for doing level 3 versus the other 2.
Awesome, and somebody can get these services and not have an inspection. These are just like, oh, I just want you to come look at mold, or hey, I want you to come. So
radon is an a la carte type situation. You can do that a la carte, or you can do the mold sampling a la carte also.
All right, so let's get into another one. It's a big deal. We're in our neck of the woods, lead paint testing, because we have a lot of homes that are built, pre-1978. So what does Thornton Home Inspections do for lead paint?
So we actually got rid of lead-based paint testing because we didn't have a lot of people asking for it, because for some reason, a lot of people are getting properties pre-78 and they don't have that as much. And when we do our home inspection on a house that's built before 78, that's one of the number one things that we're looking for. I can tell you the 2 things we're looking for is lead-based paint and asbestos.
Yeah.
Asbestos is basically on the same level as lead-based paint, but lead-based paint, the kind of a way that you can kind of figure out that you possibly could have it is your paint peeling, and it looks like little bitty rectangles. And that can kind of give you an idea, hey, I may have lead-based paint here. So if you're looking at a property and you see these little rectangles around a column outside, that could be, or around a window or a door frame, that can give you an indication that you possibly could have that on those areas. I went to a property probably the last 6 months to where the guy was really thinking he had it, and they had renovated the house. They didn't do a lead-based paint testing on it to give to him saying, yes, we removed it, or no, we didn't remove it. But the house was built pre-78. So I go out there to do the test, and I'm looking everywhere for lead-based paint. There wasn't a sign of it nowhere. And so I called the guy. I was like, I can take your samples, but I'm pretty sure you're not going to have anything, because I don't see anything that's pre-78. So, which that was a good situation. But then you have those situations where it's they put new siding on it, but left the framing of the windows, left the framing of the doors, and it still got that stuff on it. Most people, if they don't want to remove it, they have this sealant that you can actually paint over the lead-based paint to conceal it, which to me, that's fine too, because you're not letting it be airborne. And that's really the key when it comes to asbestos and lead-based paint. You don't want it airborne to where you breathe it into your lungs, and they can cause cancer just like anything else that gets, foreign into your body. So that's lead-based paint. We actually don't do that testing anymore because of just not having the demand for it.
Right. Yeah. Most people, like, from my perspective, they waive it most of the time on closure. Everybody waives it. But so you don't. If somebody was to request lead-based paint testing, you won't be able to do that anymore.
No, we have a vendor that actually does that. We just send them to them and let them.
Right. It just wasn't the demand wasn't there to utilize that.
Right. And asbestos was really the same way. I mean, there wasn't a lot of people that wanted that. Now, yesterday I just did an inspection on the property, and it had it all around the ductwork in the crawl space, and I was like, you got lead-based paint or asbestos tape around your ductwork, and they were like, oh, like, what do we do with that? Like, well, you might want to have it removed because this is dangerous.
Okay, so let's talk about water testing.
Yes, that for me, that is new to us, because we looked at it a couple of times. We didn't have a lot of people reach out for it, but then in the last COVID done a lot of stuff to this industry. It really did. So we got a lot of demand for lead-based paint. I mean, not lead-based, but water testing. So we started doing that, and that has been basically like Flint, Michigan. That whole situation that happened there has aroused other people to be more aware of what they're drinking. So we included that now, and we send that off to the laboratory just like anything else. And then we get a report back saying, yes, you have this issue or you don't. And there's a complete version of it. And then there's a FHA. So if you have a FHA type loan, then we have a standard for water testing for that. So we can do that test for you. But if you want a complete evaluation of your water, and that includes like stuff that I can't say because I can't read the actual word on it, we can actually do that too. So I mean, there's a lot of things that could be going on in your water, let alone lead.
Now you said the FHA, and you may or may not know the answer to this, but that particular one to use for the FHA, would that be would a USDA loan or VA loan, would that work for them as well?
No, it's really for FHA because the FHA has certain requirements. Right. I don't know the other two, what they require. So when I do that test, is what I was asking. Yeah, and that's why we have the complete, because the complete may be a little bit higher than what the FHA is required. Because from what I understand, FHA only requires 3 things, but if you want the, it's like 7 on the rest of them. So yeah, so we do both to make sure that we cover all the bases for the client.
Okay, all right, and I think this one's is a newer one that y'all have added to your list of services. Your sewer scope.
Yes, that's the fun one.
Perspective, I guess.
Yeah. So the sewer scope, it kind of came because we couldn't tell people what was going on in their plumbing line. We can only do so much as a home inspector because, like, we can get in a crawl space, we can get in a basement, but if the basement's finished out, we can't tell you what's in your plumbing line if you have any issues that's not visible. But with the clean out outside, we can actually stick a camera down and go towards the house, or and go away from the house, maybe to the septic tank or to the sewer if you have one, and can tell you, hey, you have an issue with roots going through your line this far away from your house, and you can actually have a plumber come out and fix that repair before you take possession. Because say a month down the road, you're in this house and you're taking a shower, and then all of a sudden you got water backing up into your tub and you don't know why. And you call us saying, hey, I have water backing up in my house. I'm like, oh, there's nothing going on, but we didn't do that service for you either. So it gives you just a little bit more, and this is above a home inspection. This is totally away from a home inspection.
Right.
So we can do that service and give you pictures or video or anything on that situation and let you know where it is. We actually have one of the sonar that can pinpoint exactly where this issue is. So when your plumber comes out there to fix it, he doesn't have to dig up your whole yard. He just digs up that one spot. That's very a big
That's
thing.
very important.
Yep. So that was one of the things that I just thought would be vital for our company to kind of just give a little bit more to the client, buyer or seller for that matter.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. So pool inspections. What do you do for pool inspections? You just test the
So
water?
We have a third party. Yeah, we have a third party that handles that because as a home inspector, we only are trained on safety aspects of a pool. We're not trained on how the motor works, what the leak analysis is, and we're trained on like gates because they're self-closing behind, things of that nature that's safety oriented. So what we did was we hooked up with a company called Pool Pros, and they're in Nashville and Atlanta. So they have pool specialists all over the Southeast that can actually come out and do the pool inspection for us. So we did that, and so some of their pool inspection reports is as long as our home inspection reports. I'm like, dude, that's a long inspection report. But it's very vital. So if you have a pool and you want to know what's going on with your pool, this inspection is not like $100 inspection like most home inspection companies that are doing a pool inspection are going to charge it. This is like a $400 to $500 inspection, and you actually know what's going on with this pool, and you can actually negotiate those repairs before you take possession of the property.
Right, and that's very important for like homes that have big in-ground pools with these big, complicated pumps and systems, that are very expensive to fix. So that $500 again is minimal when you're looking at $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 worth of repairs or more.
Yep. You got decks around those. They do those. Anything that's pertaining to that pool is on that report.
Wow. And so even though you don't do it yourself, just like with the termites, utilizing Thornton Home Inspections, it is a one-stop shop. Even though you may use third-party services, somebody, the buyer, the seller, whoever the client is working with you, your company, and just that's all they deal with, and you're handling off the third parties and getting it all done.
So we oversee all of that.
They don't have to communicate with the other vendors.
It just makes it so much simpler to handle it for them because buying a house or say you bought a house, you got to call the power company, you got to call the water company, you got to call sewer, you got to call all these people to get stuff set up, and that's a lot. That's a lot of things you got to actually deal with. TV, internet. Just think about it. All that stuff you actually got to handle. So if we can just try to pull some of that away to where it makes it a little bit more easier for you, and that's what we're trying to do.
That's awesome. And I saved the best for last. I think this is something that, especially now, more so maybe last year, but it's still a very vital thing that clients need to take advantage of. And that is your pay at closing option. So let's talk about that. What does that mean?
Well, pay at close is actually what it says.
Outside the obvious.
No, pay at close was an option that came about back in November for our company. We've been paying attention to it for about a year now. And basically what it does is it allows clients that I've ran into, that you've ran into, that are basically struggling to have enough money to even afford to purchase the property, let alone have an inspection, let alone have an appraisal, and all the things that come about, earnest money, things that they actually have to fork over to be able to purchase this property. So what we did was we partnered with our credit card processing company, and they have a program that allows clients to purchase whatever they want. So if they want a home inspection by itself, they can do that. They want sewer scope, mold, radon, termite, anything that we offer, they actually can get it at that point in time and then put off payment until they close on the property. And for most clients that have, special situations. Maybe they have, children that are special needs, or financially strapped at the time, and they're scrounging up money to be able to do anything. This is helpful for them because, and this is probably a good one for you also as an agent. If that's the case and you've negotiated the seller to pay for the closing costs, that's a part of that.
Right. It comes
And
out
that's a
on the closing table.
big deal. That's a big, big deal. So, and we're actually working on a new program with this company to where we can actually offer this to sellers also.
Wow.
Yes. It's not here yet. We're still trying to fine tune this program, and we had a conversation yesterday. But basically, I want the home inspection industry to be able to have this option for everybody, because I feel like it's necessary, because people are getting laid off, people are losing their jobs, people are moving, and situations are happening daily. And if we can just relieve some of the pressure as a industry, or as a home inspection industry, I can't even speak for appraisals or anything like that. But if we can relieve some of that pressure for these clients, buyer or seller, that's what I want to do. And that's why I'm trying to be as innovative as possible as a a company owner is in the industry, to try to get this as the standard for real estate transactions. Like the home inspection, you shouldn't have to pay out of pocket right off the top.
Right.
You shouldn't, and it helps the industry, it helps the client, it helps the agent, it just helps everybody involved.
Absolutely. I love it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put up if anybody watching, they can scroll, write this right here down, and they can find out more information about the stuff that you've got to offer. So circling back, and then we'll close this thing up. But I had you answer where you start. What area did you cover when you first started? And you told us Ringgold, Georgia. Mm-hmm. So now, where all does Thornton Home Inspections cover?
We have a lot of areas now. So we have a big area. So we cover Chattanooga, Tennessee, and all the surrounding areas. We actually go up towards Athens, Tennessee, Sweetwater, almost to Knoxville. And then we go over towards Jasper, Tennessee, close to Alabama. We don't go into Alabama because we're not licensed in that state. And we cover all of West Georgia, all the way down towards Douglasville, I-20. So anything in between that, at Marietta, Douglasville, Noonan, Georgia, Gwinnett County, you name it, we probably are there. And if we're not there, call us and we'll see if we can come help you there too.
There you go. Yeah. So because like anything north of Atlanta, you got it. Cartersville, Calhoun, Floyd County, Chattanooga. Yep. Awesome. And now,
we cover all those areas.
Are you expecting to get over into Alabama maybe this year?
That is the plan. We are interviewing inspectors as we speak that have recently got their license, and they have to go through our training. They have to adhere to our culture. For me, that is very important, because I don't want to send somebody to somebody's house that doesn't have the same values that I do.
Absolutely.
Because they're representing our company and representing my grandmother, for that matter.
There you go, they're representing grandma.
So it's very important to me that they actually, enjoy what they do and are willing to help clients out, buyer or seller. That's the biggest thing for me when I hire an inspector. They have a heart for people. They have to.
Absolutely. Well, Desmond, man, I appreciate you coming on with us today. And hopefully in the future I can bring you back on. I'd like to talk more if you get this other for the sellers, the pay at closing. We'll touch back on that. Yeah. Thanks again for coming in today and speaking with us.
All right, man. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, bye. All right. That was Desmond Thornton with Thornton Home Inspections. I enjoyed having him on today. And if you did so as well, please let us know. Also, if you are watching this on Facebook, please be sure to like and share And if you are watching this through YouTube, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button. That way you will be notified when a new video is uploaded. By the way, every Thursday at 6 p.m., we will be uploading a new video to YouTube. So please be sure to subscribe so you are notified. Until next time.